Hey guys, happy Tuesday. Welcome back to Ancestral Healing. Today we're going to be talking about the top 9 ways to get more fat in an animal-based diet. When you switch over to a low carb diet, you're no longer getting energy from carbohydrates, so you need another energy source, which in this case is fat. Fat is extremely essential on an animal-based diet, whether you're keto, carnivore, or just eating more of an ancestral diet that has a higher emphasis on meat, animal protein. You're gonna need fat. You're gonna thrive when you eat more fatty cuts of meat. So I actually decided to do this video because I had a comment under one of my videos. Someone said that they were eating the rendered fat from their pan and it wasn't really making them feel too well, but they know they need to eat fat and if I have any suggestions. So I needed to make a video because I do not suggest eating the rendered fat from the pan. You're not going to feel good. It's not the most optimal. It's already been cooked down, might be a little bit burnt. You're going to not feel so good. I used to put the rendered fat over my steak and it would give me an upset stomach. So I have 9 solutions for you. So number 1 is obviously cooking with fat. You're gonna need to cook all of your meals in fat, whether it's butter, ghee, beef tallow, pork lard. You can also use duck fat. I really like that one. So these are all options that you have when you're cooking your meals in a frying pan. Number 2 is going to your local butcher or your local farmer and asking them for their beef trimmings. So you're most likely going to get a frozen chunk of beef fat or beef suet, and suet is the fat around the kidneys. They're both really delicious. Beef fat or beef suet, really yummy options. You're going to get a big chunk like this. You're going to chop it up in little cubes and like maybe ice cube size, and you're going to throw it in the air fryer or throw it in a frying pan and make these little crispy popcorn fat like bits and pieces. In the description below, I'm gonna put my video that I did a recipe on for how to make these fat bites. These are a great addition to your meals. When I first started eating an animal-based diet, I would have my steak or my salmon, and then on the side, I'd have a little bit of crispy fat bites, like about a handful, and that was a great way to get my fat in. It's a super delicious cooking technique, kind of tastes like little fatty popcorn. It's healthy, it's good for you, and it also keeps very well in the fridge for about 1 to 2 days. Number 3, bone marrow. Go to your local butcher and ask them to give you their bone marrow. You most likely have to pay for it. This is not something that I've been given for free by my butcher, although I have been given free beef fat trimming, so you can always ask. But bone marrow is a great source of fat. You can roast it, you can put it over a steak, you can eat it on its own, and if you're afraid of organ flavors, if it's too organy for you, don't worry. Bone marrow is not that much of a strong taste. It's actually quite delicious. You can even make bone marrow butter and spread it on some egg yolk muffins. I'll drop those recipes below in the description. Those are already some great ideas for incorporating more fat into your diet. Number 4 is my favorite and is one that I eat almost every single day, and it's ground beef. Most people, when they go to the store, they get the lean ground beef. What we do is we talk to our local farmer and we ask them to add more of a higher fat percentage. I've heard people getting ground beef for 20% fat, 30% fat, up to 40% fat. It's just a conversation you got to have with your butcher, and if it's not the one butcher, you can find another. Just ask around, and you can do so many things with ground beef. You can make burgers, you can make ground beef bowls. I got a lot of ground beef recipes, and that way you can make all these different varieties. It doesn't just taste like you're eating ground beef. You can make a multitude of recipes with ground beef and also get your fat in at the same time. Number 5, if you're really into steaks, then I would suggest finding some really good quality grass-fed, grass-finished steaks that have more fat, like ribeye, skirt steak, New York. You can get even briskets, porterhouse, You can get short ribs. If you can't afford these cuts of steak from a grass-fed source, what I would suggest is buying a leaner cut of steak that's not grass-fed, but accompanying your fat from a grass-fed source. So you can get a lean cut of steak from a non-grass-fed source, but your fat that you got from your grass-fed butcher, you can dice up little cubes and air fry them. So you're getting the fat in from a grass-fed source, but not the protein. And this is important because animals store their toxins in their fat. So anything that's fatty, I would suggest organ meats. All of those should be from a grass-fed, grass-finished source. And you would be surprised. You can find affordable grass-fed, grass-finished cuts. You just got to go looking for them. And it can depend on where you are in the world. Number 6, if you can get your hands on some pasture-raised pork. Pork is a great source of fat. Most pork chops have like a nice fat cap on them. So pork would be a great choice, especially if you can get it pasture-raised. Number 7 is fatty cuts of fish. These can include mackerel, salmon, trout, sardines. I love seafood. It's a great alternative to meat, kind of spices things up once in a while. Number 8, a gelatinous bone broth. You cannot go wrong with bone broth. You can add all of the things in there. Sometimes I even add bone marrow in my bone broth. This is a great way to add fat in, especially if you don't really like the taste of fat. When I first started the carnivore diet, I was repulsed by fat, but for some reason when I drank bone broth, I couldn't really taste the fat in there, although I could see it. It's so sparkly and golden. So that is a great way to get your fat in. And the final tip is number 9, and it's to garnish your food with fat. So let's say you make a steak, you can add some raw butter on top of your steak. You can add bacon on top of your steak. You can add a little bit of bone marrow on top of your steak. Or as I mentioned, you can add bone marrow butter on your steak. There's so many options. And I'm telling you, if you're not really feeling so well eating an animal-based diet, maybe you're eating too little protein. That's what happened to me at the beginning. And as soon as I increased my fat, I started to feel so much better. And I can even notice it now. If there's certain days where I'm not getting enough fat in, I'm a little bit more low energy. So just little minor tweaks that you can do to make this process better and to speed up your healing. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thanks so much for all your support, and I look forward to another video on Friday. If you haven't already watched these 2 on the screen, give them a watch. I appreciate you guys so much. Take care. Bye-bye.